It's not meant to be pleasant. It's meant to get under your skin. It's meant to disturb you, like real violence. Real violence does. Real violence disturbs me. The very first idea for August Underground was I wanted to make this very elaborate zombie film called Elysium, and the budget for Elysium would probably be up in the couple $1 million mark, and there was no way I had the money. So I decided to shoot a very independent, dark serial killer movie with a friend of mine named Alan. I just wanted to make the most realistic serial killer movie people have ever seen. They make all these movies about the big serial killers like Gacy and Bundy and stuff like that, and they're just so soft. August Underground is about two lunatic 20-somethings who do the most heinous crimes. I think is way more vicious than any one of those serial killer movies out there about. And those guys did horrendous things. That character doesn't give two shits about anybody except for him and his buddy and getting their rocks off. Like in the opening scene, there, they come in and he shows his friend the girl in the chair, and then he shows the guy in the bathtub, and then he's like, "Hey, let's go grab a beer." And that's what they care about. To them, that's just it's their toys. They don't give two shits about that. They want to go out and have a drink. They want to go out and movies or smash mailboxes or do whatever they do. And it was just really go with it and let the character shine through me. So, or my character is me if I was this person. If I wasn't together as I am, I would be this lunatic. Like all the aggression, like when the character gets mad and he's freaking out, like that's a voice that comes out of me that scares me. And when I watch August Underground, I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I was doing that and just being so vicious. But I mean, we all have that in us. The monsters in all of us. You just need to know how to control it. And it's better to control on a movie set than out there in the real world. The movie was shot for very little money, not even $2,000. I think with tapes, all self-funded. Alan had a camera. Him and I chipped in and we bought a lens for it, like a really nice lens for it. And it's funny because we went out and bought this really nice lens for it, and then we degrade the film to make it look like shit. Just through the Premiere that we used in the editing program, and then just did ran a videotape transfer of that, and just like degraded it 5 times. I bought all the blood, made all the blood myself, and being an effects artist, I have lots of supplies, so I was just like whatever I had in the house. It was shot on the weekends. I was teaching at the time and shooting whatever I could, but I never wanted to stop. It was really hard trying to get the actors in place, things like that, but I never really wanted to stop the movie. It was very self-contained because it was all shot at my house in Bell Vernon, and I could have hacked people up with chainsaws at 4 in the morning and nobody would have heard. There was like one car that drove on the street per day. So, I mean, there was really never a problem there. The shoot went very smooth. At the time, a few of my students were writing to Charles Manson and Richard Ramirez, and I caught wind of that, and I wasn't very happy. I didn't think it's cool to write to a serial killer, someone who takes people's lives, and horror movies are in such decline. And then, of course, on television, reality TV was just starting. So I mean, like The Real World and Fear Factor and all these shows pretty much laid a very thin foundation for what you were going to see. But a lot of it came from the video scene in Henry, Man Bites Dog, were pretty big inspirations for me for the film. But did not try to emulate them at all. Really wanted August Underground to be its own entity. One day I was watching 2020, and there were these kids going out there shooting people with paintballs and videotaping it. And then there was also like kids vandalizing houses, and they were videotaping the stuff, and it was just like, it's the youth that sometimes you would have to watch out for, and not knowing who are the bad people in life, and myself looking young really helped that out with, seeing like this big babyface killer out there. One thing I've noticed from living out in Pittsburgh, originally from New Jersey, is that young people out here don't have much to do. You can either fuck, you can either do drugs, or you can cause mischief. Where I was from in New Jersey, there was, we had the shore to go to, New York City, more stuff to do, and I think people who don't have nothing to do in their town and get bored, they want to, see how far they can push themselves and see how far they can just push anything. So, Pennsylvania was a great place for that idea and the setting for the movie. The whole thing was for them to be buddy-buddy, for someone to tag along and videotape these crimes. People have to be close. So a lot of people asked, are these guys brothers or even lovers? You know what I mean? Because I've heard people say there was like a homosexual undertone to the film. But no, it was just these two characters were just very into doing what they were doing and doing it all for shits and giggles. To me, it's two buddies. It's the jock and the water boy. That's who it is. You're watching the jock go out and do the stuff, and you got the water boy telling him, egging him on, being like, "Yeah, man, that's so cool." That's really what it is. It was like, "Oof, you sure we should show that girl sticking her hand down her crotch? Are you sure we have her nipple cut off?" All those things entered the head, but sometimes you just gotta let it go. It's done in a very realistic way. It's not done in like your traditional horror slasher movie violence. You know what I mean? It's more of that painful, like just cutting off a nipple or just smashing someone in the head with a hammer. Of course, social commentary comes at the times in history. Night of the Living Dead and Chainsaw and all those were made. There was that big social thing going on with the war and just that time period. August Underground fit in the same category, you know what I mean? But for the changing of the millennium and television totally changing and becoming horrible. Television is just, oh God. And just the way everybody wants their 5 minutes, their 5 minutes of fame. To these characters, this is their 5 minutes of fame, their 15 minutes. And it was weird because right as I was making August Underground, 8mm came out. And I'm reading all about this snuff movie, 8mm, and I'm like, holy shit. So I go to the theater to see 8mm, and I was very relieved that 8mm was just a big pile of crap, and August Underground looked nothing like it. It's scarier to see your everyday Joe do horrible things. When you see a monster, you know it's a monster because you're from day one you know that monsters are fake. So that's why monsters aren't scary, but people are real, and you see these people every day. And when you see people do these horrible things, it's like, well, I can't. He was such a nice guy. I couldn't believe he'd do something like that. We've been hearing that for generations and generations, and it's still scary. Well, originally the movie was going to be called Peter, but it sounded too close to Henry. So we went through this process of trying to figure out a name for the movie. So I always wanted to do a thing where I was going to start making movies, started with A, my next movie would be with a B and C and so on. So we filmed in the month of August, so we were going to call the movie either August or Aorta. And we decided to stick with August, and Alan came up with the Underground, so hence August Underground. Alan wrote a draft, and then I came in, and when we acted, I rewrote pretty much what my character was going to be saying. We would go down and rehearse the scene because we only knew there was probably going to be like 2-3 takes, especially if there was an effect going on. So we rehearsed it a lot, and then I would go and sit in my truck and listen to some Chicago, early Chicago, not the lovey-dovey stuff, but the really heavy guitar like Terry Kath, Chicago. And I just really just get myself very peaceful and calm, close my eyes, and then I go right downstairs and was ready to kill. I'd sit down and just get really close to them and talk to them, and I'm their friend, you know what I mean? I'm their director. I don't want to hurt them. I want to get the best performance out of them, of course. But I can do that through my acting. Like, it's very easy to feed off somebody who's coming at you. If I felt like they weren't giving me what I wanted, I would just put on a little bit more juice and shake them up a little bit. That's what I had to do. But it was always protecting. I remember, like in the beginning scene where I take Annie's head and it looks like I smash it into the wall. I'm actually smashing my hand into the wall. But that girl came out with many, many bruises. For some reason, girls like to bruise easier than guys do. So we always get in trouble. I always liked the idea of the two brothers, the twins, and separating them. I think that's a horrible thing.
Okay, well, starting with the Sweeney program, being part of the first class, I got to meet Fred right away, when I started back in 2000. And, made friends right off the bat, and he's doing side projects, or at least he introduced us, a little while down the road after probably the first or second semester.
Okay, well, I started second semester at the Sweeney School. The brotherhood, me and my brother being twins and stuff like that, us, collaborating with one another as far as, working in the scene together and feeling, each other's pain, so to speak. I think it's pretty much the fact that, you're using twins. You usually see that too often, but I've been seeing it a lot more lately. When, I was sitting in the chair and pretty much being knocked out by Fred, with the hammer, I don't know, I actually got into character. I felt, that I was, in a situation that was very violent, and that I was undergoing, a torture, with my brother, and just thinking of the loss. At the same time, his presence was very intimidating and very forceful, so it made it, that much better for the effect to actually take place the way we wanted it to, so it's very cool. Everybody's trying to touch the, the senses and try and take it to the next extreme, push the limits, find out what is out there that's capable of making them feel these, exotic feelings that, because life, everything seems so surreal, and to be able to have something so, explicit, thrown in your face, catches you off guard, and, you don't necessarily know what to make of it, but at the end of it all, it's like, wow, you just experienced something that was far more crazier than what you expected.
And of course, boyfriend and girlfriend, there's nothing worse than, especially, the woman being bound and gagged and knowing that I'm sawing her boyfriend into pieces in the bathroom. For my main actor, Annie, we found her through a website called NewEnglandFilms.com, my casting director, John Wisniewski, and he pretty much rounded up everybody for the movie, and actually played a part of the dead guy in the bathtub in the opening sequence.
Well, I was a student at the Tom Savini School for Special Effects, where Fred was an instructor. And one day he came to me and he says, I have an idea for a movie, it's this, that, and the other thing. And I liked it, and I was on board immediately. There's not much that's, where the camera is a character, literally a character. We probably saw, just for the lead, close to 25 people in the span of 2 weeks, and only one of them panned out. So thankfully, she was the best one too. I'd like to say it was professional in that there was prep time and everybody knew what the shots were and how they were going to be laid out, but it was also very, very guerrilla style filmmaking, very in your face. People weren't coddled on the set. Anne-Marie actually still has a hard time watching it. We actually watched it together the first couple times I saw it, and she couldn't really handle it. I showed it to a couple of friends of mine who were studying film in school. They said it was the most disturbing, but also one of the best put together pieces they've ever seen. They couldn't tell if it was real or if it was fake. They said if they had just found the tape like lying on the ground or something and taken it home and put it in a VCR, they would have called the cops. The effects went off without a hitch, the acting went off without a hitch, the shots went off without a hitch. I mean, everything was rapid fire. You couldn't ask for anything better. I think everybody who worked on it just gelled perfectly. In the basement. Working in the basement while I was in the tub with Anne Marie and seeing how everything was going down there. That was definitely intense. Like just how raw, how in your face. I mean, God bless her for being able to put up with it and just sit there and sit there and sit there and have Fred do what he did during the film. I mean, you know, kudos to her. She was patient, needless to say. Okay, the locations were okay. They were secured. Like the people who owned Fred's building, they knew that we were making a movie there. There was some stuff that was done on the fly, like some of the concert footage. I'm actually surprised with how that came out. When I saw the cut of the film and the fight and everything that breaks out, and how well everybody was willing to participate, and I was amazed. And you know, I think that was just something that had been planned with a couple other guys that Fred knew.
With the old woman, older people are easy prey. Sorry. Yeah, but you know what I mean? It's like older people are, they're not as strong, and they really have no self-defense. So they're easy prey to killers like that. So I really wanted to show that, and I think, and what I was hoping that, you know, the viewers watching now would be like, oh my God, you know, you can't kill an old lady. You know what I mean? But that was, you know, that too was a big thing about the movie, was like having real people. So many independents have like their friends and they're all tattooed, or you know, they're all pierced up, and it's like, you know, what am I watching here? You know, I'm watching, you know, a friend's home video. I wanted to have the older woman. I wanted to have real people instead of more people who like I hang out with.
My grandson was making a movie, and I had a lot of faith in him, and I know he would make me a success, and I just enjoy doing things for my grandson. Well, it was different. I was a little kind of leery at first, but then after we started doing the film, I was really proud to help him and do it. It was just part of the movie. It didn't bother me at all. Well, for as long as my grandson thought it was the right thing to do, I thought it was the right thing to do too.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. If he wanted me to do it again, I would do it again.
Yeah. We actually shut down the whole store for the night, had cops and, you know, the whole thing tapered off so nobody can get in. And the actors for that scene were Dan, who was the clerk, and the two boyfriend-girlfriend who sniff each other's asses were actually my little brother Steve and my cousin Casey. And because I couldn't find anybody to sniff each other's ass, so I had to call in the family. The scene was a very long scene, you know, and one take, and accidentally my brother's head went through the door of the glass, and if you watch the scene, I actually like slow down in the scene because I was really freaked out because I thought my mom was going to kill me, taking my brother home, and he's got this big gash on his head. But he was a trooper. He's got a head like a tank.
Oh shit! Oh shit! Dude, 5-0. Where? Fuck him right there. Fuck him right there, dude. Oh shit, dude. Fuck.
Just went down to the police station and told them that we were filming, and they said, was there anything we can do? And I'm like, yes. I really need a cop to chase us after this. And it would up the production value. You know, it looked like, wow, these guys got a real cop car. So I definitely, I wanted the audience to kind of be like, what, was that cop chasing after them, or was he getting somebody else?
Fuck yeah. Make a move, bitch. Make a fucking move. I want to fucking go.
Well, my brother Fred is the director, writer, and producer. Well, he was just trying to choose people that he was comfortable with, and he wanted a couple, so my cousin and I did the scene. When the glass broke, cut my forehead, but didn't do anything to actually hurt me in any way. Just during the scene, my brother hit my head and started hitting it against the glass, and all of a sudden just shattered and cut me up. Well, when the camera moved over to the convenience store clerk, he asked me the question if I was hurt. I was like, "Is the camera on me?" And he's like, "No." And I was like, "No, I'm fine." So it worked out to be a good scene, I think.
Fred's my cousin, and he asked me if I wanted to be in it. I really didn't prepare very much. Got dressed, and met him over at his house. We went to the convenience store, and we just did it. Well, the thought of having to sniff my cousin's ass kind of got to me a little bit, but hey, I told Fred I'd do it, and I'd do it. So I did it. But when I was told that I really didn't have to actually sniff his asshole, it was a little more comforting. So I was for it. When it took place, I heard Stevie, I heard the crash in the glass, and but I knew the filming was still going on, so I had to keep down. But as soon as I heard them go out the convenience store, I looked over at Steve. I'm like, "Are you all right? Are you all right?" And I saw all the shattered glass all over the place. And he said he was fine, but he had blood coming down his face. Scared the hell out of me, really. It was fun. It's my cousin. I'm used to doing this stuff. I mean, we grew up, like I was telling Stevie before, like being dead half our lives, because Freddie was always coming after us and torturing us, and but it was a lot of fun. It was definitely a lot of fun. A lot of horror, especially nowadays, that they show, it's cheesy. It's not really good. When I first saw August Underground, I was really sickened to my stomach, because I had no clue it was going to be anything like that. Alright, when I was probably about 10 years old, and Freddie was 12, he came up to me, he's like, "I'm writing a movie." And I go, "Can I be in it? Can I be in it?" And he goes, "Will you do anything?" I said, "I'll do anything." And he's like, "Alright then." And needless to say, things have changed a little since then. I won't do anything now, but almost anything. So.
Shit, you don't waste any time.
The white girl was a friend of Alan's, and the black girl was a friend of mine through a friend, Randy and Erica. They were both great girls, and they really just did us a favor by coming in that night and having to get naked and be in this crazy scene for the movie.
Shit. The fuck?
You hear her scream. The camera falls, and right as it shuts off, you hear like that. Ah! So it was kind of like, let the audience. I think I got her. When we first started the film, there was a different actor playing my character, and we shot a scene with him and two other actors for the two girls at the end of the movie. And one of the actors' boyfriend was really adamant about not having his girlfriend get naked and things like that, and it got pretty intense on set with him. But it all worked out. They no longer were in the movie, and we had made those few changes to make the movie right. Home videos just start and they just end. We didn't want to have this great big huge opening. We didn't want to have this really super climactic ending. We just wanted to leave the audience like, wait, is there more? Just like how it is on a regular home video. The editing process was very easy because the movie was just putting it together. It wasn't like trying to overlap and make things absolutely perfect. It was just like, all right, put this scene here, and it was pretty much shot in order. So the editing process wasn't really much of a big deal. Why would you want to watch something like this? Is August Underground your viewing pleasure only done once? For some people, yes. But for lots of the August Underground fans, no. They watch it religiously. It's not really about how many times you can sit through this and be like, why am I watching this? Why am I watching this? I love when people come and analyze the movie and they find out their own little quirks about it and like what they really like and try to examine the film and be like, did you try to do this? And there's stuff in there that I don't realize that I did that's in there. But some people read it a whole other way, and I think that's great because I do the same thing when I watch movies. I think that's the best part about filmmaking, is that the viewers can interpret it their own way. It's a movie. I'd hope people don't idolize my character in the movie. Once you make a movie, it becomes bigger. August Underground is bigger than me, and it becomes its own thing. And let people do what they want with it. If they want, if they want to idolize the characters, fine. If they understand the point that I was trying to get across, even better. I just wanted it to be groundbreaking and just people to take notice. It was my first film. I didn't want to slip through the cracks like so many other independent films do, and I just really wanted to beat down the door with the thing, show people that here's this nasty little movie. I remember having the wrap party at the house and finally showing the movie to everybody, and everybody was kind of like, "Oh wow!" And somebody threw up. They actually threw up from watching it. It was a little too much for them. I didn't send it to everybody and their mother, you know what I mean? I really kept it to people I know who would enjoy the movie. But it wasn't really until I would take August Underground to different conventions like Cinema Wasteland, and I would show it in hotel rooms. And for some, it's weird because now Toe Tag's known for showing movies in hotel rooms. Like, oh, Toe Tag's new movie. You're going to see it at Cinema Wasteland in a hotel room. But that's how August Underground started. It really just started with me bringing it out and showing people. Any place I could show the movie, I'd show it, just to get reactions, and people would scatter like cockroaches when the lights came on, because they didn't know what they were getting into. And August Underground really built the foundation of what became Toe Tag Pictures and what I'm doing here with Toe Tag. And of course it spawned the sequel, August Underground's Mortem. And now it's actually going to finally end in August Underground's Penance. When the film was completed, the goal was to drop the movie off in every major city and have the authorities find it and cause this big hoopla. Because Blair Witch did so good by telling everybody it was real, so it was like, all right, if we can do something that's even more vicious than this Blair Witch, and make this snuff movie and put it on the doorstep of the Capitol building and every major city. But 9/11 hit, and I would have gone to jail for real, so that was pretty much out of the question. And at the same time, Alan was feeling a little bit more hesitant about the movie and not really wanting to be involved with it. And so at the same time, I'm trying to push the movie, he's trying to push away from it, and that pretty much began our separation in the film. So I worked very hard on the movie, and there was no way I was just going to let the movie just sit on a shelf for a few years until he finally came to terms with the film and what he did in the film. Alan, had a family, and I didn't have a family. He, and maybe in his mind he had more to risk than I did. But I was a hungry filmmaker and willing to do whatever I had to do to get my movie out there. Alan's a smart guy. This guy's bailing from the movie and wants to use, a pseudonym and not put his name on it. What are you doing? But then that thought only lasted in my head for about 4 seconds, and I was just like, fuck that. I put my blood, sweat, and tears into this movie, and it needs to be seen. At least I hoped it needed to be seen. You know, I didn't know what I didn't know what it was going to be. It was a movie, and from people that I talked to, it's in their book. It's to some people it's the greatest thing ever. To me, it's my first film, and it's my Frankenstein. It's my monster that is always going to be with me. You know what I mean? It's like I've had so many problems with it, and then of course in Mortem, and more problems. The curse of August Underground. I never knew it'd become as big as it became. It still keeps growing to this day. It's I get numerous emails about the first August Underground and how lots of people didn't even know it existed. People just thought the sequel Mortem was the first. But then, people who really enjoyed Mortem were like, start reading about it and was like, ooh, there's this first one out there. And it was kind of like, it wasn't really like it was kind of like my plan, that if I sit on it, you make it more, harder to get, it might create a buzz, but it takes time to put the right DVD together and the right time for a movie to generate. The movie's not a mainstream movie. It's made for the underground, and it should stay in the underground. I don't want it to be in Best Buy or these chain stores. I want the diehard fans who really enjoy these kind of movies, to keep it for them. I showed it to Mike Watt, who was working at a cult video store here in Pittsburgh, and Mike Watt, he writes for numerous magazines, and I showed him like the first 5 minutes of it, and he was completely like in awe. And he pretty much wrote some articles for Film Threat and for different websites and magazines, and started spreading the word about it. And then I met Rue Morgue at a convention in Ohio, and I gave them a tape. It was just like, hey, take a look at it. And about a week later, I got a call saying, holy shit, what is this? We need to do a story on it. So as soon as we did the story for Rue Morgue, the day it was released, I woke up to like 170 emails from people from all over saying, what is this movie? How do I get it? And the thing was I was not going to sell it. I was just going to, keep it tucked away until there was something I could do with it. Go on, make another movie, try different things. And the buzz just really started to develop because it was a very hard film to get. So I was like, all right, what I'll do is I'm going to release 200 of the movies on videotape, numbered and signed by me. So that's what I did. It wasn't until I started to show people who didn't really know me the movie, and that's when it really started to really get under people's skin. But when you make a movie so intense and so new and different, it always brings problems. You know what I mean? Like, you listen to Wes Craven and Sean Cunningham talk about Last House, and it's, those guys, did it way before. Same thing with Roger Watkins with his Last House in Dead End Street. And when you step into that realm to make these kind of movies, you have to be prepared for the worst. It's weird how lots of movies are coming up that look very similar to the movie. I know when August Underground first came out, people kept comparing my movie to Eric Stanzey's movie Scrapbook, and I have never seen his movie. And it wasn't until about a year later that I actually got a chance to see Scrapbook, and even I was like, whoa, there's lots of little similarities to the movies. But I think August Underground stands in a category all to its own, and I think it just looks very real. Where some of them, you're watching a movie. This is completely like made to look like a home video. There's not even one single scene in the movie that's made to look like a pun, you know what I mean? Like a joke that it's a movie. It's all made to look like it's home video. Horror movies are not meant to be PG-13. They're not meant to be PG-13. Horror today is a completely watered down genre. And it's all about really just making money and getting, you know, all the teeny bopper kids into the seats, where the horror that I grew up watching was completely different. I miss that era of like the late '70s grindhouse, going to the Times Square and seeing all the great films. You know, I had to breathe life into renting it on video and watching all these great horror films. And today kids don't do that. They want to see bigger and bigger special effects, and they don't want to sit through a really dark, intense horror movie. They want fun, and to me, that's not what horror's about. Horror's about making you feel uneasy and walking out of there being, holy shit, I was scared, or that was the most disturbing thing I've ever seen, or talking about it for weeks and not just being like, okay, what do you guys want to eat for dinner? The scariest moment in Henry's the video scene, to me. And then, Man Bites Dog, Cannibal Holocaust. I'm a big movie fan, so I watch lots of stuff, and, subconsciously little things might pop in, like, if you watch a scene of some obscure movie, it could be how I played that scene in August Underground. And, but I wanted August Underground really just to be its own entity and not be an homage to anything. And I think that's what a lot of independent films do, is it's just constant homages to the greats. And to me, as a horror fan, I think it's a downfall. Of course, I like seeing my favorite genre stars in movies, or movies doing the same shot from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre or Halloween or something like that. But it's not groundbreaking.
Man, that's a waste of a fucking full beer, dude. You're picking this shit up.
Ah, fuck.
That's all. Come on, I got something. You are going to love this. Right now, we're actually at the house that we filmed August Underground out in Bell Vernon, Pennsylvania. But in that basement is where the camera picked up the sound.
Because this was gonna be, the bathroom was gonna be. Sweetheart, you okay?
Hey, sweetheart. You're faster. You want to ride?
Where are you going?
I'll give you $20 if you show me your tits.
And what do you say?
Yeah, this is where we picked up the hitchhiker, which is only a couple minutes away from the house, but we actually made her walk probably from all the way down there to here, so we had enough time to drive around the block to come pick her up. And this is the middle of the night, cows, making noises, and deer across the street. So I'm sure she had a good time. Right over here is where we pulled up and we picked up the girl, and she gave me a blowjob and I beat the shit out of her. That was all filmed right here. It was actually, the car pulls up right here, and then we moved over closer to the barn. There used to be a lot more barrels and stuff like that on the side. Where I had someone hiding with some fake blood that bled her up when we were finished. Shit! We came out the back door of the house and ran up between these two trees. And then over in the back barn over there is where the big bull was kept, Tex. And the dog was on the other side of the barn, the shepherd. I remember having auditions. We brought him up, we didn't have an office or anything like that, so I would just bring him out to the house, and the house is in the middle of nowhere. And, people just weren't used to coming out to the country like this and having, meeting inside my living room and auditioning, and they would hear me screaming and yelling up at the upstairs in the bedroom, while a bunch of them sat downstairs and watched Henry or whatever movie I had on to get them kind of into it, and they would be really freaked out. How to use my house? Like, where else were we supposed to, to shoot it? My only neighbor was a guy who lived over here who was really cool. And then if you look, There's absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's very peaceful out here. Hey, good seeing you again. Mind if we come in here?
Yeah, tour.
I was running around trying to get all the locations and everything together for the day. It was like, all right, drive all the way from Pittsburgh, stop here, you know, and I wasn't even secure on all the locations until the end of the day. You know, the slaughterhouse scene just popped up. I was like, all right, we can get that, let's get it. And it all worked out. You know, I really wish there was actually animals hanging up, you know, or being, you know, being slaughtered. But I mean, now that I think about it, I'm kind of glad there wasn't, because it just makes it more just different. You know what I mean? There's always so many movies with slaughterhouse scenes in it, and to see a slaughterhouse not in progress, just, you know, the empty place, and then seeing the refrigerated carcasses of all the animals. Yes, the sheep with the balls, which was actually, I think it's udders, like it was just heavy with milk or something. Well, yeah, it was funny because the day we got here at my parents' house, we came outside and Alan had the camera, and I'm like, oh my God, look at that goat or whatever it was out there. It had these huge balls or whatever it was. And, you know, turn the camera on real quick and just grab the hold of it. Come here. To me, this was like very surreal. You know, life-size Jesus hanging on a cross. Well, they're still in good shape. You know, little old and rough looking. Inside. Came here about this time. It was actually cold as hell, and we actually shot this and the convenience store on the same day. It was just me and Alan, which was pretty much most of the time. You know, to us it was make it more intimate. You know, it's kind of the way I really like to work. I like to have small crews and not have lots of people, which is a lot more stress on me and everybody else too. But when you have more intimate stuff, you know, when it's not a lot of people, you really get the better performances because you're not intimidated by 40 people standing around and a big guy holding a boom mic. And it actually helped me out too, you know, so I can just really just stay in character and come here and do my thing. Let's see. Alright, it's coming in a couple minutes, right? Hey, Nick, can I help you with those?
Oh, sure. That would be great. Thank you very much. This is where I died in August Underground.
Hi, my name is Fred Vogel. I'm the director of August Underground, and I'm sitting here with my grandmother, Victoria Jones, who was the little old lady who walked into the wrath of me in the movie. And I just want to say, it's a lot of people. I get lots of letters from people saying, "How can you get an old lady to, you know, to do that and be in that scene and die?" And you know, you just gotta ask your grandma, and you know, normally she'll let you do whatever you want. Now, a lot of people say, you know, like, the scene is very, it's kind of hectic and stuff like that. When we come in, you know, you're on the floor and they're like, what are you killing her with? I was actually using an apple peeler. I was stabbing her with an apple peeler. And then the cameraman comes in and goes into the refrigerator and grabs himself a beer. And everybody loves the scene with where grandma takes out her dentures and things like that. And, I get a kick out of that myself. And just to get your grandma to take out her dentures it's really a funny thing. But the movies had lots of success, and with the DVD and this, and what you watch in this documentary, it's just an honor that I had the support from my family when making the movie, and especially my grandmother, to do a scene like this. At the time she was 81 years old, and she was a champ and she did a great job.
Hey, whoa, dude. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Welcome to the convenience store scene location for August Underground. My friend Kenny owns this convenience store, and I've been coming to this convenience store since I was, like 12 years old. I ride my bike down here. And I told him, I'm like, Kenny, I always wanted to shoot a movie in your store. And he's like, no problem, Freddie, no problem. And we got to shut down the whole store for the whole night. And on this night, this was tough because I couldn't find any actors to sniff each other's butts. So I had to call in my cousin and my little brother to do it. And I got in touch with the police here in Warren and told them that we're filming the movie. And they ended up helping us out and locking off the parking lot and locking off the street. That's how we had that nice little cop car coming after us at the end. So the location was free for me to use, but it ended up costing me about $600 because I, put my brother's head through the window. Wish they got fixed. So, I think it was this one here. Smashed it right in his head. It was just supposed to hit him here. My brother Steve's got a big giant head. We had Dan, who was the convenience store clerk, and there were two people actually on the other side of the magazine racks who you really didn't see in the movie. But I had extras inside the store here. And then me and Alan came in, and my brother and my cousin were back here. And we came in, I was behind the register to see if there was any money in it. And that's where I get the bat. A lot of people are like, where'd that bat come from? Well, that's where it came from. It came from behind the register. And we came back here, and I beat my brother up pretty bad. And my poor cousin too. I squirting mustard and ketchup on them. But yeah, the guy who owns these places was always really great to me, and even when I put my brother's head through the window, and he was just more concerned about my brother having a cut on his head than, the glass breaking. But, I took care of him and gave him the money. It broke my pocket because, making a non-budget movie, and paying $600 on an accident sucks. But yeah, this was a really great location, and it opened up the movie a lot too. You know what I mean? Where lots of independent films can't even get inside locations like this. And I like using stores. I like using convenience stores a lot too, because I think convenience stores are like a big symbol for America. Where you can get anything from, brownie mix to baby food, to lice, the detergent, the cigarettes, the motor oil, headbands, whatever. Sunglasses. That's Americana, and serial killers are Americana. So that's why I really wanted to use this location, just to show people that, they come in here too. They're next to you buying drinks, they're next to you sitting down having dinner. Be aware, very aware. Dan was actually, he was a video clerk at this video store when I was a kid. And I'd always go down there and rent horror movies and stuff like that, and that's how we knew each other. So I'd be the crazy kid who'd come in and ask for the posters all the time, annoying the guy. And then he ended up working at a beer store. And I'm like, hey, I'm shooting a movie. I'd love for you to come down and play the clerk in it. So, we got to go behind the counter, and I got to smack him in the face with a porno magazine. I came in, he, on the third try, he actually had half a knife sticking out of him. So all he had to do was turn around with it. Behind the blood, behind the newspapers, he had a squirt bottle for blood, so he just squirted himself in the stomach, put a little bit in his mouth, hit it. So the take would just be one solid take like that. We did it late at night, and we just got the permission to do whatever we needed. The police were very helpful. They didn't know what kind of movie we were making. So there was a horror movie, and it was like local boy makes good. He's making a movie, and then of course they make this. But it worked out for it. It worked out for the best. I really love this location. I'm glad we're actually in here now. Come back, 5 years later. Check it all out. Just came out and attacked with a knife. And all it was a knife cut in half with a piece of cardboard, and I rigged up the effect right before we got in here. So I had to cut his shirt, and he had no idea, what I was doing. He just was like, all right, what are you doing? You're ripping my good shirt. And I was just like, shut up. I'm fine. I wish I had another cushion to give you.
He's good, right?
I needed to put a team together, so and actors and everything like that. So I was teaching at the Tom Savini School of Special Effects, and I had all these kids that can come and work on the movie and give them a shot of working on a movie for the first time. And they probably about 8 to 10 started off in the movie, and then probably only like 3 finished it. There was a bunch of people who did special effects for the movie. I did special effects for the movie. One of my fellow instructors, Greg, was a special effects artist, and then on certain days, different students would come in and do a makeup if we needed some makeup for the film. There was some really great stuff that Craig McDougall did, and it wasn't seen in the movie. But the thing was not to show the special effects like how a regular movie would show it, like the hammer going up and the reaction, and then the hammer coming down and then going into the effect. I wanted it to all be in one shot and to look real. And if he caught the effect, he caught it. If he didn't, that's all right. It's there. Let your mind work. It's harder to do a contained effect than just to bring in a fake body and do things that way. And it's pretty much our trademark, and we're always going to stick with that. And when we shot our test for the movie, with Jeremy from Toe Tag doing the special effects, the set was a little different. There was more weapons hanging up, and there was like a mattress attached to the wall, and it was completely different. It was just our test to see if that style would work. My character was completely different. He was an artist. There was like paint tubes hanging from the ceiling. What he would do is he would take his victims downstairs and like paint them, and he would smear paint all over. My character would smear paint all over my face and smear paint all over them, and I ended up looking like the Blue Meanie from like the Beatles' Yellow Submarine, and it just, that part didn't work, but the style worked. Even though people kind of didn't understand what we were doing, they thought it was too shaky and too nauseating, but for the realistic feel, it came out the way we wanted it to. It actually started with them being upstairs and drugging them and bringing them downstairs, and showing the whole thing, and actually seeing Aaron's leg being sawed off, but the effect didn't work out the way we wanted to. But I built this fake leg, and we stuffed it with real meat, and it just sometimes effects work and sometimes they don't. We had this in the script. There was this one scene with the Annie character in the basement, and we actually were going to inject her own fecal matter into her vagina, and we made a cast of the vagina and everything like that, but it just didn't work out, and it was just a very hard effect to pull off to make it look real. So a lot of things came down to not having money for the effects and having to trim that way, so we had to change a few things around so we can get around that.
I know we had toyed with the idea of using someone else to play Peter, but it just didn't pan out. Couldn't get the same effect that you could with somebody who had written it, knew exactly what he wanted to see, exactly what he wanted to hear, exactly how he wanted it to be presented.
Just collaborated and put together a mess of gore the best we could, you know. Did a lot of cotton latex. We did some casting of a leg in order to get a prop ready for mine because I got a severed leg from a train accident. So we utilize that for an effect. Since that's a rare find, and why not take advantage of it? A lot of mortician's wax just for cuts and bruises and nails in my brother's shoulders, and just kicked a lot of gel blood, a lot of blood, I can tell you that. The nipple was done just with pretty much a latex appliance, or it was actually a foam latex appliance, and just went right over the nipple. It had the feathered edges, so just it blended real nice. It was sculpted first, and then made a mold of that, and poured out the the foam latex with a 2-piece mold. That was a lot of cotton latex too. Made it rolled over, just it's pretty basic, real easy to do, and then just a shitload of blood. That was a great experience. The crew that we worked with, we had a lot of fun with it, and it just felt natural. Everybody had fun with it, and I don't know, just it was like family. Had laughs, and I don't know, it was sick. So the leg didn't work out for the first shot that we took. Fred was sawing away at it, and it just wouldn't gush blood. It wouldn't fall off enough. It was too solid. But it would have been a real cool, effective scene if that would have worked out.
It was pretty professional. I mean, excuse me. As far as the graphics, you'd feel okay. Well, this is kind of improv in a way, and a lot of it kind of was. But at the same time, that raw nature was also kind of planned out because there was, Fred's direction. Pretty much, showed us exactly what was going to be set up, as far as, just what was to be expected. There was a scene where, he wanted to possibly, throw in some kind of like prosthetic penis to, as far as my underwear was concerned. And, ultimately later on decided to, just go with that and just do it naturally. But he was going to have this enlarged, enhanced penis and pull it out and friggin' cut it off and stuff like that. So it was pretty interesting. But, it added to it, but ultimately it didn't make the cut. So it's pretty interesting to see how it was all put together, with the basic, just as far as what we had to, utilize. Since my brother, has a prosthetic leg, we wanted to utilize that scene, to our advantage. So basically cast the leg, and that was a large prop right there to have that being severed, taking that cut away from his body, so it was pretty graphic.
I've known Fred for almost 8-9 years, something like that, and went to college together, and we were doing special effects, and we started making all these like silly movies at night, getting drunk and just filming some crazy shit, and we were doing better than all the video production kids that we were going to school with, so it was only inevitable to get together and do this. Well, Fred called me up one day. I was a puppeteer at the time, and he's like, "I'm working on this movie, you want to come do some effects?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So I went there, and I did some pretty sick gore effects, and didn't make it in the final cut of the movie. The footage is lost. Don't know what happened to it. We'd love to see it. Hopefully one day we'll get it back, and so everybody can see it. Well, it was the scene with the twins. I think in the movie they're in the tattoo shop getting tattooed and stuff. The first test we shot, it was I think like a 35-minute take, and it started off as the twins came in and they were wanting to buy drugs off of Fred was the killer, and he drugged them, gave them some beers and drugged them so they passed out, and we took them down to the basement, and there was a pretty mean gutting involved, and we actually sawed the one guy's leg off because he was an amputee, And so we rigged up a fake leg and sawed it off with a hacksaw, and it looked pretty good. And, you know, the one brother, I got a spleen splashed in his face from his twin, got cut out. That was pretty good. And pissed himself. Fred went over and like beat him in the head with a hammer. It was a pretty graphic scene. You know, made a gut bag out of some cardboard and plastic and duct tape, and you know, it looked good. You know what I mean? He cut the bag open with the razor blade. He pulled the guts out, and you know what I mean. It's an easy effect. You know, the leg was kind of difficult, but he brought over a couple of his prosthetic legs that I used one of those, and so that worked out pretty good. No casting involved. It was, you know, got there that day and we just did it.